Hey guys, Allie Marie here with My Catholic Perspective. Back in November of 2014, I was having a conversation with my supervisor at the time when suddenly everything went into sort of a dynamic 3D. I went to return to my desk and was confused that was where I sat every single day. I said I needed to use the bathroom, didn't know where it was when I'd been working at the company for years. And then my mom showed up to take me to the hospital and I did not know how to step up into the car. After doing an MRI that I don't remember, they informed us that I had a brain tumor. It was about the size of a golf ball and was growing quite rapidly. They initially thought it was a grade 3 sarcoma. Then the diagnoses went back and forth and ultimately resulted in having a craniotomy, where it was determined that my tumor was a super rare type that was only the third known case of it ever happening in the brain. They sent it off to Sloan Kettering and had to have their pathologist review it because pathology here in Kalamazoo, Michigan had never seen it before. Now, today, this month, I was diagnosed with another brain tumor. I finally kind of opened up about it on Facebook and Instagram. It's a small tumor. It was found on one of my regular MRIs. It's because I get yearly MRIs ever since this first one. It is kind of unknown about it, and but it's in a different location than the other one. So where they took out the other tumor, it's still looking clear and good, but this one is in a new location. And so I want to talk today on my least favorite question, on what I think you should never ask somebody when they tell you that they have a tumor, whether that's a brain tumor or thyroid or lung, in their leg, anywhere. My number one least favorite question: is it cancer? This is my least favorite question. Cancer is not black and white. There is so much gray area. And while I understand somebody's intent of that question, I would highly recommend your initial question should not be, is it cancer? It should be, how are you feeling? How does that show up for you? Are you having symptoms? Do they know what type of tumor it is? Because asking what type of tumor it is going to give you a lot of information as to whether or not it's cancer, as you are apparently entitled to know. It's an annoying question to me. I don't mean to sound like it's an offensive question. However, since it is not black and white, it can cause distress. I feel distressed when somebody asks me that question, because it's like, well, there are 4 grades of tumors. Grade 1 is that it's slow growing, grade 2 is intermediate malignancy, grade 3 is that it's growing, and grade 4 is it's malignant, you need to get it out fast. We don't know, for me and for a lot of people, until they've done a biopsy, they do not necessarily know whether it's benign or malignant. They can take a guess. They can think that it's one way or another. They can think it's cancerous or not. But until they take a biopsy, they genuinely don't know. In regard to brain tumors, they rarely take biopsies unless they look at it and they say, this is an inoperable tumor and we need to know what we're dealing with. Then they'll go in and take a biopsy. But a lot of the time they'll just say, well, we have to go in there anyway, so we may as well try to get the whole thing while we're there, and then we'll figure out what type it is. For me, when somebody asks me if it's cancer, my answer is well, they don't really know. And then I have to go on this long spiel about, well, I should have this yes or no answer, right? I should know whether it's cancer or not. The doctor should know if it's cancer or not. No, they don't. And a lot of times they don't. It is a very gray area. So in regard to me, if somebody were to ask me, do they know what type of tumor it is? Even that, it's they're not really sure. I have a history of a different brain tumor. They suspect that it's the same type due to the cellular variation that it has. They do think that it could be the same type, which means that they don't know if it would be receptive to a gamma knife radiation, radiosurgery. They don't know if it would be receptive to proton therapy that's offered at Sloan Kettering. They don't know a lot about it. And that is the case for a lot of people, especially prior to a biopsy. And so asking, is it cancer? It's putting something in somebody's mind. It is a leading question, as they would say in court. If you can't, if you just ask, what type of tumor it is? What type of tumor is it? How are you feeling? Are you having symptoms? Do the doctors know how it's going to act? Asking something like that, yes, is like, no, the doctors don't know how it's going to act. That answers your question. They don't know if it's cancer or not. So I just want to implore you, if somebody comes to you or somebody shows up on your newsfeed or anything like that, and they say, hey, I've been diagnosed with a tumor, they're going to be doing these things and whatever else, like, please pray for me. First off, that person's probably not looking for advice. They're not looking for anybody to say, oh, well, do you need more support? Like, I can put you in the right resources. I can give you the right resources for support. Well, you mean well, and that is like a nice thing to offer. The primary thing that you can just ask her, leave it open-ended. Say, do you feel like you have proper support? And that person can say yes or no. They can say, yeah, I'm all set. I feel great. I have a great support structure. My family's in town. I'm married. My husband's great, everything else. Or they can say, no, but I'm pursuing a couple of options that I'm hopeful are going to be helpful. Or they can say no, and I have no idea how to go about it. Do you have any recommendations? Leave it up to the patient to come to you to say, this is what I think I need. Back when I saw a spiritual director weekly for 3 years, and one of the biggest things that we worked with was that I wanted to give people what they needed. If there was a book that I came across that I thought somebody really needed just to grow in their spiritual life or pursue, he would ask me, he'd say, well, do they have access to that own book? Like, if they wanted to look something up on, how to heal a relationship with my parents, or if they wanted to look up how to grow closer to God or anything like that, could they find this book on their own? A lot of times the answer would be yes. You say, okay, well then let them do that. Or if they come to me and they say, hey, do you have any recommendations for a book on, how to practice NFP happily? Or do you have any books on, recommendations on how to help me understand if God exists or not? Then I can offer it to them. And I say, oh yeah, actually here's a little list that I have. But just prompting it myself, being like, hey, I came across this book and, you seem to have a problem with getting angry. So here's a book on how to be less angry. My spiritual director would encourage me so much to wait for that person to come to me. So the same thing goes with this tumor. If for anybody's tumor, if they want to offer you the information, they will. But please, please, please understand that cancer is not black and white. There is so much gray area. There is so much unknown about some of these mutations, about some tumors that come up. And I just seriously beg you, stop asking, is it cancer? Because it just causes stress. Like I said, it causes me to feel distressed because it's like, man, I wish we knew that answer. That is a great question. And so those are my thoughts for today. I wanted to share it just because I have opened up, like I said, on Facebook and Instagram about it. I just posted. I posted it here on YouTube too in the community tab. If you wanted to read my post from yesterday, just kind of introducing everybody to the idea that I do have another brain tumor, and we are just kind of doing expectant management right now. But my daughter just woke up. But I did just want to talk about that for a minute, because that is the first question I get a lot of times. And I know, having been through it the first time, getting those questions all the time and being like, oh, they don't think so. I don't know what difference that answer really makes, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, I have a brain tumor. At the end of the day, they have a tumor in their lungs. At the end of the day, they have a tumor on their thyroid. Whether or not it's cancerous is irrelevant. And I promise you that if it has metastasized, if it is suddenly in multiple places in their body, they'll probably let you know. They will, if they're already sharing the information, I have a brain tumor. If it's suddenly discovered that I have a tumor on my lung as well, I'll let you know. And then you will know, and the doctors will know, and everybody will know that yes, it was cancerous. Yes, it did metastasize. And yes, they do have to treat it now in a different way, with a different approach, and work with what we know now. But just trust that person to come to you, to offer that information. And instead of asking, is it cancer? Ask them, do the doctors know how it's going to act? How are you feeling? Are you experiencing any symptoms? Do you feel like you have the proper support? Do they know what type of tumor it is? Those types of questions, I promise you, are going to sit much better with whoever's chatting with you, with whoever's sharing their medical information with you, and ultimately cultivate that relationship more, instead of end up putting that barrier of, I don't want to share this information anymore because I'm getting the same questions that I hate hearing. Those are my thoughts for today. I pray that God grants you the resources that you need to draw closer to Him and in turn to those around you. And I pray that you're able to make it a great day. We'll see you next time.